of the sun. Our story is not over, it's just begun. From Timbuktu to the streets of Soweto, Africa speaks and the world must echo. Strength of Africa, we stand tall. United, claim the truth, we break the wall. Up from the roots to the skies, we rise again. This is our voice and the world human. Strength of Africa TV. The sky holds your memory. In the quiet, you still fly. Whispers in the evening air carry the love you left behind. Though the clouds have taken you, your light still warms our minds. Now you're free beyond the sky, where pain and tears can never find you. We hold your name in every sigh, till we meet where dreams are true. Now you're free beyond the sky, where pain and tears can.
Before we begin, we pause to acknowledge two tragedies that have touched our continent. In Kenya, lives were lost in a devastating medical plane crash. In Ghana, a military helicopter went down, claiming the lives of dedicated servicemen, including ministers of defense and environment. To the government and the people of Kenya and Ghana, we extend our deepest condolences. Our hearts are with the families, friends, and colleagues who now bear the weight of this loss. We honor the service, the commitment, and the humanity of those we've lost, and we stand with you in sorrow and in solidarity. Having commiserated with our fellow Africans, let's dive into today's message. Today's episode is not easy, but it's essential. We are not here to point fingers. We are here to pull back the curtain. Too often we speak of neo-colonialism as something done to us. But what if, without realizing it, we are part of the problem? What if the African parents, in our well-meaning efforts, are unknowingly keeping the continent in chains, in bondage, and in shackles? This is real. In this episode, we will explore how language, education, investment, and identity, when shaped by Western systems, Western values, Western norms, can quietly reinforce the very structures we hope to dismantle. This is a call to wake up everybody in Africa and abroad, to examine not just our hearts, but our habits. Now, let's get into it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are at this very moment. This is Strength of Africa TV, where truth meets courage, where the past is reawakened and the future of the motherland is reclaimed. Today's episode is titled Unwitting Agents, How the African Parents Fuel Neo-Colonialism. Once again, you are welcome to Strength of Africa TV. I still remain your host, Adebayo Oladokun. And today, we are stepping into uncomfortable truths, the kind that are necessary for growth. In this episode, we are not pointing fingers, we are lifting veils. We'll be exploring how Africans at home and in the diaspora, often unknowingly, are fueling the very system that keeps the continent in a cycle, the cycle of dependence, which is called neo-colonialism. This is not about blame, it's about awareness, responsibility, and above all, reawakening. First, let's define the terms. Colonialism was when foreign powers took control of African land, resources, and people by force. Imperialism is the direct domination or control of one country over another through military force, political rule, economic rule, or territorial annexation. Neo-colonialism, on the other hand, is subtle, invisible. It wears a suit, not a soldier's uniform. It operates through economic control, cultural dominance, political influence, media, and education. The flags are gone, yes, they are gone, but the chains still present. And sometimes those who left the continent, the diaspora, and some at home carry those chains in their minds, their wallets, and their choices. Most Africans in the diaspora love Africa. We work hard, we send money home, we share our culture, but intention is not the same as impact. You can mean well and still contribute to the problem. Today, we are talking about those silent contributions in the way we raise our children, in how we speak of Africa, in where we invest, and in what we believe about our continent. This conversation is for all, the diaspora and those back home, to self-check and shift. Now, let's start with language. Many African children abroad and even in Africa can't speak their native tongues. We call it modernity, progress. But what we are doing is handing over the most powerful identity tool to the West. Language is not just communication, it's worldview, it's memory. When a child only speaks English or French, they are being raised in the worldview of colonial rulers, not the ancestral wisdom of their own people. That's not global citizenship, that is cultural amnesia. Education is sacred, but let's ask ourselves, whose education are we prioritizing? African parents abroad and at home often push for Western degrees, Western validation, Western success. But our children graduate knowing about Napoleon and Shakespeare and nothing about Nziga, Mansa Musa, Amilcar Cabral, or Queen Amina. The tragedy, they return to Africa or view Africa as strangers, educated but not enlightened. That is colonial education in disguised form. The new colonial system doesn't need to rewrite our history. It just needs us to stop telling it. What image of Africa do our children see? What stories do we amplify? Too often it's war, corruption, poverty, and disease. And we share these stories on our timelines without questioning the sources. Meanwhile, African excellence, innovation, art, resilience is buried. In doing this, we become PR agents for neo-colonial narratives. We confirm the lie that Africa is broken and needs saving. But Africa doesn't need saving. It needs reclaiming by its own children. Let's talk about money. Diaspora remittances to Africa exceeded $95.3 billion in 2024. That is more than foreign aid. But here's the problem. That money often funds consumption, not production. We build fancy houses, import foreign goods, and invest through Western platforms. Meanwhile, African entrepreneurs struggle for capital. Local banks collapse. Local industries shrink. We become economic donors, not development partners. In this way, the diaspora and Africans at home are unintentionally strengthening foreign economies and weakening local ones. Some Africans celebrate success as leaving Africa. The doctor in London, the engineer in Toronto, the professor in New York. But every one of them represents a vacuum back home. That's not migration, that's brain drain. Instead of brain circulation, where we move, grow, and give back with knowledge and resources, we become permanent exports. Neo-colonialism doesn't need soldiers anymore. No. It just needs Africa's best minds to live and stay gone forever. We must ask ourselves, who are we raising as children at home and abroad? Are they Africans with global reach or global citizens without African roots? When our children grow up and no language, no visits to the homeland, no context for African struggle, they may not oppress Africa, but they won't defend it either. And that's exactly what neo-colonialism needs. Silent Africans, globalized but disconnected. The cycle of colonialism continues when children of African descent adopt Western norms without critical thought. African knowledge systems are lost across generations. Diaspora communities become alienated from Africa's struggles and strengths. Now we can break this cycle. When we teach our children African languages and stories, that will restore identity. When we celebrate African heroes and traditions, that will build pride. When we teach African history beyond colonization, that will foster cultural awareness. When we encourage visits to Africa, that is a grounded connection. When we support African-led education, media, and business, that keeps power in African hands. When African children are raised without Africa in their minds, in their hearts, and identities, neo-colonialism no longer needs force. It wins quietly through forgetfulness. But when the African parents raise children who know, love, and fight for Africa, a generation of liberators, innovators, and visionaries is born. So what can we do as parents? We must teach our languages, support African schools and media, promote African-made goods and films, visit, invest, and build back. Tell our children the stories we were never told. Champion Pan-African unity beyond borders. Africa is not a project, it's our home. If we don't defend it, who will? To every African abroad and at home, this is your wake-up call. You are not just a citizen of where you live, you are an ambassador of where you come from. You can either be a bridge to empowerment or a pipeline for exploitation. Choose to reconnect, reclaim, re-educate, reinvest, because not that Africa is perfect, but because Africa is yours. Africa doesn't need saviors. It needs its children to come home, in heart, in mind, and in purpose. The diaspora holds power not just in remittances, but in influence, in narrative, in the next generation we are raising. Neo-colonialism thrives on silence, forgetfulness, and disconnection, but we break the cycle when we speak our languages, tell our stories, support our people, and raise children who know who they are and where they come from. The question is no longer, what's wrong with Africa? The question is, what are we doing to make it right, to make it great again? My fellow African, if this episode sparked something in you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Start the conversation. Be the shift. Subscribe to Strength of Africa TV. Follow us online on Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Deezer. Let's reclaim our narrative together. I am Adebayo Oladokun. Stay rooted, stay bold, and stay Africa. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode, which I believe is going to blow your mind off and force a rethink in you. Bye for now.
Arise about children of the sun. Our story is not over, it's just begun. From Timbuktu to the streets of Soweto, Africa speaks and the world must echo. Strength of Africa, we stand strong. United, claim the truth, we break the wall. Up from the roots to the skies, we rise again. This is our voice, let the world hear. Strength of Africa TV.